Have you ever felt broken, damaged in some way, fundamentally flawed? Do you remember a time in your life when you didn't believe that? A time in your life that you felt open and deeply connected with your authentic self? If so, what happened to that connection? And because of that, have you ever sought someone or something outside of yourself to try to feel whole again, or to bring about some relief from this belief in your own brokenness? If your answer is yes, conscious recovery may be for you. My name is TJ Woodward. I am the creator of Conscious Recovery. Perhaps you're a person who is struggling with addiction, who would like a more life-affirming approach to recovery. Maybe you're a counselor, a therapist, or a clinician working with clients who want to reconnect with their true nature. Maybe you're a person in long-term recovery who wants to deepen your recovery, experience more connection, more love, and more curiosity. In my own life, I remember coming into this world feeling open, feeling present, in awe of the world. I also remember the tall people in my life beginning to teach me about competition, scarcity, fear, not enoughness. I remember learning about violence, about war. I remember, because of that, shutting down, closing off. At age 7, I remember like it was yesterday, a physical sensation of closing my heart, protecting myself from a world that didn't feel safe. Because of that, I walked around feeling that way, believing in my own brokenness, believing the world wasn't safe. I walked around disconnected, filled with shame and unresolved trauma. That went on for many, many years in my life, feeling broken, feeling damaged, not good enough, not worthy of love. I discovered relief from that existential crisis, if you will, at age 14 when I discovered drugs and alcohol. They saved my life until they didn't. Perhaps this story resonates for you and with you. Maybe you've had a similar experience, an experience of the loss of that innocence, that pure beingness that you came into the world as. Maybe, like me, you were programmed to believe in scarcity, in your own brokenness. I had the honor and the privilege of getting sober at a fairly young age, ironically just about 50 days before my 21st birthday. And that began a journey for me of rediscovering the truth of who and what I am. It took me many years to learn how to reconnect with my essential beingness, to work through my trauma, to reconnect with my true nature, and to move from a life of shame into a life of worthiness. I discovered a path to liberation and to freedom, and it is my honor to share what I discovered with you right now. I began working in the addiction treatment field about 12 years ago, and I quickly realized that most modalities of treatment and most support groups helping people recover from addiction were focused on symptoms and behaviors without getting down to the deeper root causes that actually drive addiction. One of the things I noticed early in my work in the treatment field is that people were coming back to treatment multiple times, over and over again. So I began to become really curious about what might be under that. What I discovered is similar to my own journey. Every client that I worked with was carrying around a deep sense of their own brokenness, their own unworthiness, their own unlovability. Perhaps the circumstances were different. Perhaps the core belief about themselves was slightly different. But what I came to understand is the deeper root causes that actually drive addiction are unresolved trauma, spiritual disconnection, and toxic shame. Several years ago, I developed a system of care that is conscious recovery. It is the culmination of my over 34 years of recovery and my over 12 years of working in the addiction treatment field. It is a path toward freedom. You see, I'm actually interested in shifting the narrative around recovery from addiction treatment to addiction healing. So what would it be like for you if you could actually heal the deeper root causes that have driven you to an outer focused life, that have created this need for someone or something to bring relief to this sense of emptiness, of brokenness within you? Or perhaps you're a clinician working in the field of addiction treatment, and like me, you wonder why people keep coming back to treatment over and over and over again, and why we collectively have decided 10 to 15% success rate is great. Maybe we even pat ourselves on the back for that. I know we can do better, and it is my sincere hope that conscious recovery can help you. There is an Indian proverb that says we're like a house with 4 rooms: physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual. I recognize that there are aspects to addiction and recovery that live in all 4 of those rooms. What I've noticed is most of the treatment, most of the modalities, and even the support groups focus primarily in 1 or 2 of those rooms. Conscious recovery focuses on the spiritual room. And when I say spiritual, what I mean is a deep connection with our true nature, not a search outward for some kind of higher power, although that can be an important part of recovery. In addition to that, what conscious recovery offers is a path inward of rediscovering your true nature, of looking at what needs to be unlearned and released so that you can step into a life of connection, love, and wonder. So conscious recovery began with a very, very simple question. And that question is, what if underneath all addictive behavior, there is an essential self that is whole and perfect? So many times, counselors, clinicians, maybe sponsors, have been programmed to look for what's broken. Many people go through years of education learning how to diagnose and treat. And although I think this is incredibly useful, in addition to that, I began becoming really curious about what might happen if we started looking at the person with an addiction, or ourselves if we're in recovery or coming out of an addiction, through the lens of wholeness rather than brokenness. What does it create when I look at myself, my client, my friends, as broken in some way? And what might happen if we started looking for the essential beingness, the wholeness within every person? What if healing happens from the inside out? And we are here to create a space to access that inner healing. The paradox in my life is I recognized the answers were within me, but I also couldn't do it alone. There were several people who came into my life who saw me as whole and perfect. See, I didn't see myself in that way. As a matter of fact, I'm guessing if you would have asked me if I was whole and perfect in early sobriety, I might have recoiled or told you all the reasons that wasn't true. But what I discovered is there is a place within me and within every person that is unharmed and unharmable. So what does it mean to recognize there's an essential, authentic self within you that is unharmable? How might that change how you view yourself and the world, your addiction and your recovery?